guys, and welcome back to another episode of Talks with Tay with your favorite homegirl, The Taylor Made. Happy Upload Wednesday. It's hump day, you know what I'm saying? Middle of the week. I don't know how y'all week going. Mine's been kind of productive. Definitely been mad busy. But nonetheless, it's been productive. So let's hope that we end this week on that note. If your week not going that way, I hope that it starts going that way. And you know what I'm saying? If it don't end on that note, I hope next week is better for you. You feel me? Because it just be like that sometimes. But yeah, before we jump into today's content, let me go ahead and issue my little apology, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know your girl was MIA last week, but I'm not going to hold y'all. Like, pulling content for today's episode has been a little hard. Like, and not hard, like I didn't have nothing to say, but I was trying to finish the statement on the content that I had planned, but it just wasn't, the points wasn't hitting, they wasn't delivering in the way that I felt they need to be delivered. So, we're going to pause on that subject and we're going to jump into the subject matter, which piggybacks a little bit off of the last upload that I did by myself and talking about just, being able to truly go within and honestly address your toxic traits within yourself and recognize, where you need to improve, where you got to hold yourself more accountable, when you still, dilly-dabbling in toxic behaviors, toxic traits, unhealthy thought processes, unhealthy behaviors, and just, really doing the due diligence with yourself to correct them. And today, we still gonna talk about that, but more so from the perspective of, it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to mess up. It's okay to make mistakes. That's part of the process. As much as I love talking about, growth, finding the better, and inviting abundance in your life, like, there's a lot that comes with it. And it's not just, being able to fix your mind and be knowledgeable of the good and great things that's coming to you, or even the good and great things about yourself. Like, growth and healing is about, being knowledgeable of both your light and your darkness. And when it comes to, learning how to embrace and work with our darkness, like, there's just certain things about yourself, certain things about your life journey that you just have to embrace in itself for what they are, and not saying like, have the, well, it is what it is mentality, but literally the mentality of like, I'm saying, I'm not a perfect person. I'm gonna mess up. I'm gonna drop the ball, and I'll be the first one to tell y'all, like, your girl messes up all the time. I faithfully drop the ball. Like, I promise you, I can't tell you one day where I ain't mess up. Like, I had some days where I ain't mess up as bad as the other days. Then I had Sunday where it's like, I said, I'm just going to take a nap. And when I wake up, we're going to try it again. Or better yet, I'm going to go to sleep and we just going to, let the day be, and we're going to try again the next day. And, I think sometimes, like, at least nowadays, when it comes to like talking about growth and healing, like, we are so caught up on talking about, the good and great things about ourselves. Like, ooh, let me remove myself from this toxic relationship. Ooh, let me stop this toxic behavior. Ooh, let me go over here to this career opportunity. Ooh, let me make more money and stuff over here. When really, it's just like, it's not just that. It's not just looking at yourself and being like, oh yeah, like, I'm trying to better myself, so I need to separate myself from this and from that. Or even like looking inside of yourself and being like, what, I want to do better with myself, so let me stop thinking like this and stop thinking like that. Sometimes it's looking at yourself and being like, what, this piece of me is a little messed up. This piece of me a little broken. And while I know I'm doing the best that I can to improve it, like, it's okay. It's all right to have errors. It's all right to make mistakes. It's all right, for certain things about yourself to be that way. And I'm not saying that, like, you should lead them that way, but again, like, you ain't perfect. And, I think sometimes when we really are dealing with ourselves and really are trying to figure out, like, how we want to place ourselves, how we want to give ourselves in life, it's like knowing, your darkness, knowing the bad about yourself that comes with the good is just so important. And honestly, it's like, for me, I won't say embracing the bad that's hard about myself, but sometimes I get easily defined by the wrong that I do in life. Sometimes I easily get defined by my mistakes and errors. Sometimes I do let insecurity still get the best of me. But again, growth is not linear. It go up and down, up and down, up and down. And so, when we're working on ourselves, I think it's very important, to have a healthy digestion, a healthy relationship with the wrongs of your life. Like, take your foot off your own neck. Accept some things, for what they are. Don't lead them that way, but accept them for what they are and find ways to slowly improve them and find the better to them. Because in the end, like, it's never going to hit or become a point where it's like you mad perfect, or like you work on all your wrongs and then you just become like, this amazing, great entity. Like, no, it's literally just like, you become knowledgeable. You begin to do things like hold yourself accountable. Because honestly, that's all accountability is. Like, you don't even so much got to be accountable for the things that you do right in life. Like, I think that's more a conversation on self-awareness, being aware of yourself. Accountability is like, what I'm saying, like, this little piece of me is a little messed up. And while, you know, I might not ever perfect it, I am going to, you know, do what I'm supposed to do in order to better it and change it about myself. And honestly, like, I think that's one of the best things you could do for yourself when you growing and when you healing is embrace the fact that, you know, you are imperfect. A perfect imperfection. As Kevin Gates say, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just really looking at yourself and being like, you know what, bro, like, I'm doing the best that I can. And even though I fall short at times, like, that's all right. You know, those moments don't define me. Insecurities, you know, they don't define me. They don't make up who I am. While they are a piece of me, they definitely, you know, aren't, you know, the end all be all of myself, or the good don't always outweigh the bad. Even though sometimes it really can feel like our bad does outweigh our good, depending on what day it is. But, you know, that's where it comes into, you know, being able to train ourselves to start thinking healthier, being able, you know, to separate ourselves from the things and people that don't deserve us. Even sometimes being able to separate ourselves from the mindset, habits, and behaviors that we have that limit us. Like, self-limiting behavior, self-sabotage is all very much so real. But I think a lot of that, more so, it doesn't really even come from, I think, not knowing or not being aware of what's wrong with you, but sometimes just not knowing how to deal with what's wrong with you. And sometimes dealing with what is wrong with you is just simple as, you know, being like, hey, like, I'm a little messed up. Like, sometimes, like, a lot of the times, I ain't gonna say sometimes, a lot of the times, you know, that step forward is not embedded in, you know, being able to be like, oh yeah, like, I need to change or do this, I need to improve this, I need to make this better, I need to separate myself from this or that. Sometimes just that step forward is being like, you know what, like, I fall a little short here in life, and that's all right. You know, while I may fall short here, I don't fall short there. So, you know, let me give my energy to this area of life that helps me and makes me feel like I'm excelling. And then let me figure out, you know, the ways I can do to make my shortcomings over here maybe not as short or not hit as hard. Like, I'll give y'all a great one. Something that really, you know what I'm saying, your girl be tussling with is timeliness. And that gets more into, you know, my time management skills. And I'm not going to hold y'all. Like, part of why y'all ain't get a upload last week is just, I ain't gonna get an excuse because I just watched the sermon this past week on lame excuses. And why I ain't gonna sit here and be lame and y'all an excuse. Like, just, you know, in my imperfection, like, I'm not always the best when it comes to prioritizing my time. And then that turns around, that starts to affect things like, you know, my ability to produce content, my ability to be on time for work. And while it's good and it's great, you know, to sit and be like, all right, so the way I'm gonna counter that is I'm gonna start setting my alarms in the morning 45 minutes before it's initially time for me to get up and get out of bed. Like, yeah, I'm one of them people, like, baby, I hit snooze. That's my favorite feature in the morning. Like, I need about 15 minutes to lay there and process the fact that I got to get up, and then I need about another 20 to sit there and actually tell myself or convince myself to get up and go face my day. And while, yeah, you know, I'm doing things to move forward and help improve, you know, my time management, like making content a week in advance, like setting my alarms earlier, I still fall short. I still be being late. I still don't upload content, but that's okay. You know, that doesn't mean that, you know, I'm not making progress. That doesn't mean that I'm not doing better. It just literally means that I have somewhere in life that I fall short in. Another thing is, you know, when it comes to my relationships, like, I'm not going to hold y'all. I'm one of the people, like, you know what I'm saying? What's on my heart? Whatever on my chest, like, what come up, come out. Like, I'm not finna hold y'all. It's something I really have had to work at with myself. It's not what I say, but how I say things. Because I'm one of them people, like, you know, I believe in calling a spade and an ace a ace. And while I won't say it's nothing wrong with calling things for what they are, again, there is a certain way that you can say things. Not what you say, but how you saying it. And for me, I'm one of the people, like, you know, when it comes to my friendships, of course, you know, I've had to go through my spells and my lessons of figuring out who and what is for me, truly finding my tribe. In that same time, and at that same breath, like, you know, something else I have to check myself on is my tone when I'm talking and dealing with people. Like, even in my right relationships, I still have to find myself and check myself sometimes, you know, like, I tell you, like, ease up, you know, change the verbiage on that. Because I'm the type of person, like, you know, you do something weird to me, it's not going to be like, oh, you know, well, what I felt like you did, it kind of offended me a little bit. I kind of feel like you pushed the boundary right there. Like, I'm more the type of person to be like, you know, I think you're a little funny at this sometimes. You know? You don't think you're a little weird at times with the things that you do? And it's like, you know what I'm saying? Why, you know, by nature of, yeah, what they did might have made me feel like it was funny at them. I might have thought that it was weird. It's all about how you say things. And that's the struggle point that I have. Well, I've gotten a lot better, you know. Now I find myself, I'm more like, hey, you know, I felt like what you did was kind of weird. I felt like what you did was kind of funny. and stuff. So, you know, taking and acknowledging and owning, you know, that piece, owning the feeling, because a lot of times I think when it comes to the things that are wrong with us, I think a lot of the times, and let me not say wrong with us, but, you know, the things that ain't as tightly wrapped as the other pieces of us, I think a lot of times that is, you know, it comes from, it steals from trauma, the things that we faced in life, or even just, you know, sometimes hurt feelings, or not always knowing how to deal with them. And I think, you know, when you're trying to work with being wrong, or work with acknowledging when people have done you wrong, and like it can become a slippery slope, because it's like, you know, I don't really know what came first, the chicken or the egg. Like, do I get mad at you for doing something to offend me, or do I get mad at myself for letting you offend me? You know, and that's a process within itself, figuring out and learning how to articulate yourself and work through those, you know, those hardships, those struggle points in relationships. And I wasn't always the best person that knew how to do it. Like, to me, it was like, you did something to me, like, intent or not, like, you just weird, you out of here. Like, let me cut you off. But as I've been growing and learning and healing and finding different ways, you know, to love myself and find my tribe, like, something that's very important that I learned is just, you know, even the people you love, even the things that meant for you, you know, they still gonna ruffle your feathers at the time. You still gonna get triggered and whatnot, but it's up to you to make the decision and that conscious choice to be like, you know what, alrighty, like, let me not go back to that toxic behavior. Let me not go back to that toxic thought process. Let me not go back to that toxic relationship. Let me keep holding myself accountable to move forward. And that don't mean you move forward like you do the right thing. Sometimes, like, you know what I'm saying, like, we have to hit that, like, it's above me now. Sometimes you gotta acknowledge and know with it, you know, it's only so much you can do for yourself when it comes to improving and changing yourself. And some things, you know, that's when you really gotta know where separation comes in at. Because again, when you're trying to work on your wrongs and stuff, like, you don't ever, you know, want to invalidate yourself for what you experience or what you feeling, but you also do not want to let your traumas define you. You define them. You don't want to let emotions define you. You define them. You take ownership over them. I talked about this heavily in season 1 and stuff. Just really changing the way that you think and that you view things, and not just because you want to do better, not just because you want more and stuff in life, but a lot of times, you know, just because you want to be knowledgeable who you are. You want to have self-awareness. That's the only way you're going to be able to progress. That's the only way you're going to be able to find better. That's the only way that you're going to be able to invite abundance in your life is A, being aware, then B, being accountable. But of course, like I just said, we're not just accountable for the things that we do right. We're also accountable for the things that we do wrong. And doing wrong is not always a bad thing. Actually, a lot of times it's okay to do wrong, because guess what? When you wrong, when you mess up, when you make a mistake, the only thing that you can do from there is improve and get it right. Like, that's like the magic trick to it. That's the beautiful thing about acknowledging, you know, your shortcomings in life, acknowledging the areas and ways in which you need to improve, acknowledging where you need to do better at, is it gives you the opportunity to do better. It gives you the opportunity to find more. Acknowledging, you know, sometimes you are the problem and you're not the problem sometimes just because you want to do better, but it's a certain thing, and sometimes you're not for people, or people not for you, better yet. Like, you know, again, like, you know, me, I use one that I think might hit a little bit harder and connect the points a little better. Me and my personality. I'm very outspoken. You know, the same way I just said, what come up, come out. Like, one thing about me, I'm going to speak my mind. Like, I don't too much believe in biting your tongue and suffering in silence. That's never been my style. While I'm all for forgiveness, compassion, conversation, all those great and beautiful things that make up having healthy relationships, I'm big on, like, we're going to have the conversation. But I've had to learn, like, you know, with me, just because I'm a straight from the hip type person, just because I'm a straightforward person, and just because I'm not afraid to speak my mind, don't always mean that it's going to be embraced and received the right way by other people. And that don't mean that it's wrong or nothing bad about me. While, yeah, I have to take ownership for how I say things, you know, making sure and I ain't coming off too strong, too aggressive with people. At that same time, that's just this level of knowing, like, this is not for me. That's not for me. Getting into the point of, okay, acknowledging, like, this is not serving me. This is not meant for me. I'm not meant for them. Let me go to what is. And boom, okay. Now I find relationships where they do love me and they do embrace me for my outspokenness. They love my strong and big personality. But at that same time, just because they love that good about me, does not mean that now, okay, well, they like me and they know how I am. So, you know, it can excuse the way that I still say things. It's like, nah, shawty, like, you still got to check that. You still got to keep doing that. You still got to keep working at that. And, you know, I think sometimes when we get to working on ourselves, it just gets hard to do that at times, because life put a lot of demand on you when you start to say you want to do better. Because this conversation ain't for the people that's just now getting there. Like, if you just starting out with doing better, you just starting out with embracing more in your life, no, please focus on the good in your life. Because if you start trying to focus on what's wrong, you're going to quit prematurely and it's going to bring you back. Like, you know what I'm saying? I tell y'all all the time, like I talk from the perspective of being 5 years in with myself. And a lot of things I tell y'all now are things I've had to tell myself and work through with myself and still work through with myself, you know, day in and day out on a constant basis. Experience that hills are going up and down with yourself. The way now, as I'm truly finding the rhythm, finding the routine, I'm starting to see better, starting to see things, you know, manifest. I see myself even more easily checking myself with the way I say things. I see myself changing my mindset. I see myself gravitating towards the right and better relationships for myself. And when I say better, I also want y'all to know too, like, better doesn't just always mean like, oh, you know, what you left or what you moved on from wasn't good. It's just simply means sometimes it wasn't for you. And that's another thing about admitting, you know, when you're wrong or admitting when things are not serving you and stuff. It's not always the indication of foul play. It's not always the indication of a lack of. Sometimes things not being for you, it's a period after that. It's just not for you. It don't mean that that person was bad. It don't mean that it was a wasted opportunity. It don't mean that you was moving wrong. It don't even mean that you did wrong. Sometimes it just means certain things are not for you. They don't serve you. Just like, you know, again, going back to the point of me having a big personality. For a while, like, I used to let people make me feel like I was a criminal. I was a super villain because I had this big personality. I wasn't afraid to be me in the rooms that I stepped in. And I say that to say, you know, of course, there were things I had to acknowledge about myself. Like I said, you know, I could be a little, you know, aggressive at times. I could be a little too straight from the hip. I could have been a little reckless and careless with my words. There were times when I was mad emotional. You know what I'm saying? I gave emotional responses, but over time, like, I've grown and I've gotten better with those things. And I find, I ain't even gonna say I find, because it's the everyday process. Like, you know, again, the areas where that is loved and reciprocated and it's respected, and like, I still find myself still having to check myself about my shortcomings, even in the things now that are meant for me. Like, I think that's like the whole shocking part to doing better and growing with yourself is when you get in those spaces, like, you have to continue to do that work with yourself to maintain them, and not do the work by keep inviting the good and stuff in your life, or not even just simply doing the work and being able to acknowledge the bad, but just doing the work and being able to be like, you know what, this is not linear. It's okay. I'm gonna make mistakes. I'm gonna mess up. I'm gonna fall short, and being able to pick yourself and keep going with that, and knowing that falling short isn't a step back or a setback. Now, while you do gotta be real with yourself and know, like, I'm tripping, I'm slacking right now, like, nah, I know better, I really need to do better, like, you ain't gonna ever be perfect. Like, you're not gonna ever have a day where it's 100%. You're not ever gonna hit a point of growth or healing with yourself where it's like, you know what I'm saying, like, you get it right every single time. Just because you gain emotional control don't mean you won't ever not lose your cool. It just means now you have the knowledge about yourself that, hey, admit you was wrong and do the things necessary to correct it. And correct it could be sometimes having to issue an apology. Like, yo, my bad, bro, I was tripping. I ain't mean to say that. Sometimes it's like, you know what, let me separate myself. And sometimes it's just simply doing things like being like, you know what, let me take a pause, let me take a break from this. And not separate myself as in end things, but like, let me take some space, let me take some time for myself to really reflect and figure out, you know, why I am still doing this, or how can I better, you know, correct what I'm doing. Because even when I talked one episode about just acknowledging when the things that you were doing for yourself no longer serve you, the same thing applies, you know, when you're trying to correct the wrong things about you, like, you know, you very much so, like, okay, I'll keep on sticking to it because it's just working right now with this episode. Me and my big personality, me and my outspokenness, you know, there were times when why is a beautiful and a great thing to be outspoken, to be confident. There were times when, you know, it was a bit of a hindrance for me, and I had to learn how to properly give it, properly accept it, without making myself feel like I was a criminal or a supervillain, because I wasn't afraid to use my voice. Whereas now, you know, I'm in positions, I'm in a career where, like, I'm getting paid to use my voice, to speak out, to advocate for people. But in that, I still have to check my tone. I still have to correct myself when I'm wrong. I still have to watch what I say. It ain't changed. It's like, you know, yeah, you know, now it's better embraced and whatnot, but it still doesn't take away from the fact that, you know, the good or the good that comes with the bad, or the bad that comes with the good, it doesn't mean, you know, like, the bad is mellowing out or it's drowning out the good things about me. It just simply means, like, you know, the bad very much so still exists. I'm just knowledgeable now about how to deal with it. And that's really, I think, one of the most beneficial things you can do for yourself is just simply acknowledge where you need to improve at, acknowledge where you're messing up at, and then be okay with it. Like, don't take yourself down that self-pity hole, because I think sometimes we do that too, and that's why people don't really like to admit when they wrong and when they mess up, because don't nobody like to feel like the bad guy. But it's okay to be the bad guy sometimes. Like, you gonna be the bad guy sometimes. So you might as well learn how to get used to and work with it. You're going to have days where you superhero. You're going to have days where you the good guy, for sure. Those definitely will exist. But you also going to have those days where it's like, nah, you definitely big villain right now. You're not big villain just because you want to do bad, but actually because you was moving a little wrong in that. Even in having the right intentions. Like, yeah, you was trying to do the right thing, but you definitely went about it the wrong way. I have an episode about that. Like, you know what I'm saying, y'all? It's all a process that all works together. And so today, you know, just really, I want y'all to meditate on. I'm even meditating on it. Just learning how to embrace the wrongs in life and not allowing them to define you, but, you know, allowing them to be a part of your process. Allowing the slip-ups, the mess-ups, allowing the shortcomings and stuff to just all be a part of it and work together. Every day is progress, whether that's 100% or 10%. Some progress is better than none, and making progress doesn't mean that you woke up and got it right that day. So I hope that you guys are having a great week. I hope that y'all enjoy this episode, and I hope that y'all get something from it. Because I'm not going to hold y'all like, what I had planned to say was I was going to sit and talk about, oh, you know, when you start building healthy habits and behaviors, like, this is what comes into your life. But as much as I want to harp, and we will get in that to talk about just how having healthy habits, healthy behaviors are able to help you counter and improve the things that are wrong about you. Like, just also just a layer of the conversation of being like, you know what? It's only so much I can do for myself to correct this. Like, sometimes you are how you are, and that's all right. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't leave it that way, but it's okay. Like, it's okay to be like, you know, I'm an imperfect person. Yeah, I got my shortcomings. Yeah, I have my flaws about myself. And I'm Melissa. Like, and see what I tell y'all? Like, you know, you don't want to leave it on, like, the end, but you do have to acknowledge and stuff, too, where it's like, all right, like, that's the line of like, all right, now, I done worked on myself. I done try to correct this about myself. And then the line of where people will now. I was saying the same, bro, before we end this episode. Like, in the same way, you have to acknowledge and take accountability for your roles. Like, you also have to be knowledgeable of the fact, like, there are people that do try to gaslight and use your wrongs against you. Again, back to the point of just, you know, me and my personality. There have been times when people have tried to make it seem like me being outspoken was wrong or something was bad about it. And why ain't nothing wrong with it, you know, of course, I've had to, you know, figure out how to properly go about and have a big personality. There are times I just really had to accept, like, you know, it's not that it's wrong, that I'm wrong, but I'm wrong for that person. It's not that they wrong or that they even being sensitive or they being soft or that they ain't as real as me. Like, sometimes it's just like, you know, I'm not meant for them. So let me remove myself. Let me keep going on with myself. You know what I'm saying? So I hope that you guys enjoy today's episode. I hope that y'all have a great and fantastic week. Definitely be on the lookout for the next upload. I'm not sure if it's going to be a wind down Wednesday. It might be another Talks with Tay because I feel like I got a couple more things that I want to say and want to harp on. But you know what I'm saying? We'll decide next Wednesday when Wednesday get here. But I hope that you guys enjoy this episode. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. And this is Talks with Tay with your favorite homegirl, The Taylor Made. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Drop some comments. Let me know what you're thinking. You know what I'm saying? How y'all feel about that? You know, when it comes to your journey with yourself, how are you learning how to embrace and deal with your toxic traits? How are you learning to work with yourself? How are you learning to become, you know, knowledgeable, both your good and your bad? And what are you doing with it? So, yeah. Hope you guys have a great day. And I look forward to talking to y'all next week. Bye.